Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining this live stream today. This is a really special episode. I am so excited to have my next guest. This is an opportunity to talk to someone about a topic that is often it's either secret or it's in the open. It's really meaningful because Joe is somebody who represents what we see in African families, and not only African families, but I have friends from the Caribbean who've talked about things like this happening as well. He discovered a hidden part of his father's past after his father passed away, and what he uncovered reshaped how he understands his family, his identity, and his roots. It's a reality that many people across the African diaspora have talked about and have related to. It's not necessarily about exposing secrets all the time, but it's also about why open conversations with families matter and why it's important for us to create spaces where these stories can be told with care. And I was really excited when I came across Joe's channel on YouTube where he was sharing his personal story after his father passed away and he discovered a hidden secret. So, everyone, today, thank you for joining. Make sure you drop in the comment section where you're joining from, where you're watching from today. I am in Accra, Ghana, and I have my guest who is Joe. He is Joe Jacquest, and he is coming live from Europe, and he is here to share his story. We're going to dive in today. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thanks for having me.
Now, for those who are joining us, we see we have a few people joining the live. I always love to let people join in slowly. Usually, as it gets deeper, I see more people coming on. But I wanted to all tell you, if you haven't seen this story before, go to Hidden Roots on YouTube and you can learn more about what his story is. But for now, we're going to dive into this conversation. Joe, do you want me to call you Joe or Jacquest? What's your preference?
So Jacquest is like my artist name, it's my music name. Joe is my real name. Whatever you choose, I'm happy with. Whatever makes you feel more comfortable, I'm happy with.
Okay, all right. I'll call you Jacquest since that's what's on the screen. I'll call you
Okay,
Jacquest.
Cool. Okay.
So for everybody, he's also an artist. So check out his music. And I want you to talk about the moment you found out about your father's secret.
So it was a few days after he passed away, and my relationship with him was always a little bit distant in that he never liked to talk too much about where he came from. So it was already understood in our household. It was me, my mom, my dad, really. And it was always understood that we didn't really ask questions about where dad had come from because dad didn't talk about where he came from. I knew that he was one of 13 brothers and sisters, which to me was already this amazing. I'm an only child, or well, we'll talk about that later. I thought I was an only child. I grew up as an only child. And so the idea of having 12 other brothers and sisters was such a crazy concept to me. But my dad never told me their names. He never showed me a photo of them. He never talked about his mom and dad or where they'd come from or anything like that. And I just accepted that not knowing about his past was the deal. And then he died of cancer in April 2011, so 15 years ago, nearly 15 years ago now. And it was left to me to deal with clearing out his house and sorting out all the paperwork that you have to deal with when someone passes away. So getting the death certificate and cremation certificates and all this stuff. So I was going through his bedroom trying to find stuff, and he was a hoarder. So his bedroom was stacked to the ceiling with old work papers and old copies of Reader's Digest and like clothes, all kinds of stuff. So it took a long time going through all these piles of things. And eventually I found his Ghanaian passport, his original Ghanaian passport. And I looked in the passport and I was like, well, this doesn't add up because dad was 64 when he died. But in the passport, this date of birth says that he was 75 when he died. He was born on a completely different day. We celebrate his birthday in November, but his birthday in the passport is in April. And we thought he was born in 46 and he's born in 35. So lots of confusion there. And I was like, maybe it's my mistake. Maybe I'm getting something wrong, but I carried on looking through stuff. And then I found a marriage certificate. And I'm like, Dad and Mom weren't married. So who's he married to? And there's the name of a Ghanaian woman on this marriage certificate. I'd never heard of her. He'd never mentioned that he was married. And I was like, well, this is really, really strange. Now, like, I'm starting to find these breadcrumbs that are painting a picture of a different man to the man that I'd grown up with, the man that had raised me. And then I found a photo album full of all these African people, all these people that were clearly really dear to him, because he'd cut out the pictures really carefully and stuck them all in place so that, you know, everyone had their right place in these, in the photo album. But he never showed me this photo album. But the photo album was under his bed, in a box. So it was something that he cared about, something that was dear to him. But he never wanted to share that with me. And I knew that this must be his friends, his family, his important people from back home. And I was just like, wow, there was a lot more going on for this man, my dad, than I realized or that he was willing to share. And he was the first person that I lost, the first real death I had to deal with. And so you're already dealing with the grief, but to also be in this position where I'm now finding out he's this very different person in a lot of ways than I had always thought he was. And now I can never ask him about these things because he's gone. It was a lot of difficult emotions to process all in one go, basically. But that was how I found everything out.
That must have been so difficult. I can't even imagine what you went through. I want to share a clip for those of you who may not have seen this series before. Share a quick clip from Hidden Roots so you can get some more context about what he experienced in telling his story and why he felt it was so important for people to see this story, because sometimes you think you're alone, but then you realize that there's other people who may be going through the same thing and may be able to learn about these things that that person is going through when you share and exchange ideas.
When my dad died, I thought I knew who he was. But soon after his death, I started to discover things that changed those assumptions forever. A passport with a completely different date of birth on it, a marriage certificate to a secret wife, a whole family in Ghana who I'd never met. My dad was living a second life, and I had no idea. This is Hidden Roots, a series all about family secrets, identity, and my journey to uncover who my dad really was. It's been a minute, so let me bring you up to speed with everything that happened in series 1. Hey guys, I'm Joe Jacquest Oteng, and I'm a singer from the UK.
And this is my dad, Peter Oteng. He moved to the UK from Ghana in the 60s and built his life here. He met my mom, had me, and settled down with her in Wolverhampton, where I grew up in the 90s. Their relationship was rocky, but they stuck together so I could grow up with both of them around. They finally separated when I went to secondary school. After years of studying and racking up student debt, I decided that actually I wanted to be a singer. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Introducing the sickest, Joe Jacquest. I like the way you're working. Now dig it in. I got to bag it up, babe. There's just no time to no time to
So that was a little taste of an episode of Hidden Roots. That was from series 1.
That's from series 2, episode 1.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Series 2, episode 1.
Yeah.
Kind of giving a little bit of a clip about who you are, what you found out about your dad, And I have to tell you, the moment I saw the first video, I think it was 2023 when I saw the first one.
Oh, that was series 1. Yeah.
Yes. And I was like, and then after watching it, it was like, so when is the next one coming? When's the next one coming? When is the next one coming? You know, I think you did a really great job of making them these digestible episodes that were short enough to get a lot of information in, but long enough, you know, keeping people engaged. I thought it was perfect. I loved how you did that.
Thank you so much. I got a lot of grief. I got a lot. Once people started really getting into the series, though, I got a lot of complaints that the episodes weren't longer. They're like, we want half an hour. We want 40 minutes. I'm like, do you know how much time it takes for one person to make an episode like that? I wouldn't leave the house. I wouldn't eat.
People don't know how much work goes into it.
Labor of love, for sure.
In the comment section, I see we have people watching. If you are watching us live today, please drop in the comment section where you are watching us from. I'm in Accra, and it is getting close to 8 o'clock in Accra time. So please let me know where you're watching from. I know that we do have a lot of people who watch us from around the world. I often have people from the US. I've had people from Australia. Please do let us know. Sankova Mind and Body says those episodes were very well planned and edited. They really were. You did a really good job on this. And drop in the comments where you're watching from. Don't be afraid to say anything. Zetu, did I say that right? Zetu Jamadek is here with us from East Legon. Sankova Mind and Body is in Osu, but by way of Detroit. Thanks for joining. Evelyn Golden says, hi, Ivy and Jacquest. I just arrived at my hotel in Accra from Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire. Welcome. You're joining a really interesting episode today because I am talking to Jacquest about when he found out his father's secret life after his father passed away. You know, I had a friend who, when his father passed away, he found out he had 10 other siblings.
Jeez.
10 other siblings.
That's going to start to be expensive Christmases after that.
So it's like people leave and they leave these secrets behind. People find out about another wife and a whole family. Like there's so many secrets that people find out. And it seems to be something that here in Ghana, I hear people talking about. And I think that it's important episodes like this, conversations like this, because it tells people you should talk to your family. I know that you may feel a sense of shame about whatever it is that you've done, but you should talk to your family. You shouldn't let them wait until you're gone. And now they can't ask you any questions. I want to know, I know that initial shock when you found out the information, did you feel like initially you should go look and find out more information? Or do you just feel like, I hate my father for doing this. Why did he do this to me? Like, what did you initially, what was the first instinct?
It definitely wasn't as strong as hate. And I look back now, and because it's been so good getting the chance to share my story, because it really puts into perspective the spectrum of stories that are out there. My dad was actually pretty well behaved compared to most. Like the way he did things, it was quite compartmentalized. He didn't have one family over here, one family over there, and he was trying to keep them both going at the same time, which happens a lot. You know what I mean? Like he was just, you know, muddling by the best he could. But at the time, I guess I was disappointed that he hadn't been able to be more honest about who he was. And I would have appreciated having more of a honest relationship with him. And I think the relationship, especially between a son and a father, is so important. If you're able to have an open, honest relationship, that's for the better of both of you. So I was disappointed that he hadn't felt that he could be honest with me about that. But also it just left all these mysteries, because I didn't know at that point, had he been living another life with this woman? Where was she now? Like there were all these questions. What's happened to the family? Can I find them? Can I meet them? But the problem with the photo album I found was there were tons of pictures, but there were no addresses. There were no names. There were no phone numbers. So there was no way of contacting any of those people from the bits of information that I'd found. So it was balancing two issues, because I was dealing with the grief of having lost somebody. And then also I'm thinking about, do I want to try and track family members down? Do I want to try and find out more about my dad's wife and this, that, and the other? And at the time, I think I decided that I needed to focus just on getting through the grieving process. I just moved down to London as well. I had just decided that I was going to make singing my full-time thing. So I was in the process of moving down to London. I just lost my dad. I was trying to find somewhere to live. I was trying to make it in the music industry. I didn't have the sort of bandwidth to start really looking into my dad's past and history at that point. But that all changed during COVID. And that's when I really started looking into things, because I suddenly found myself with a whole bunch of time on my hands and knew that if I wasn't able to start looking into his life then it was never going to happen. So it was COVID that gave me the space to really start looking into my dad's past.
It's interesting because I feel like COVID was a time when a lot of people became introspective and started looking at different things in their lives. So I'm not surprised that time kind of pushed you into making that decision.
Yeah. I think a lot of people had that thing, right, where they sort of sat there on their hands, twiddling their thumbs, working out what they're going to do with who we didn't know, right? We didn't know how long it was going to be. At one point, it felt like it might be forever. So I thought, well, there's only so much Netflix I can watch. There's only so many sourdoughs I can bake. There's only so much hummus I can make from scratch. I got bored of doing that kind of stuff, and I was like, I want to do something that has some value and has some meaning. And this stuff about my dad's past had been playing on my mind for years, but it was always in the back of my mind, quite far in the back, because there was so much else in life distracting me. And so I just thought this is the time that I can finally get some answers and make this a project. And it was the thing that gave me a reason to get up in the morning for quite a long time, because that every day I'd find out a new little clue, a new little breadcrumb, and it would just get me a little bit further along. And you hit dead ends and you go down wrong paths and rabbit holes. But overall, I was going in the right direction and finding out more and more every day. And it became quite addictive for me, really.
Did any of your friends discourage you from searching?
No, most of my friends were really encouraging of it. I guess maybe at the time, maybe while I was doing the initial investigation, I wasn't telling too many people about it. I was just doing it. So by the time I started telling friends about it, I was already so far down the road, there was no point in them telling me to stop, because, I'd already, the wheels were in motion by that point. But most of my British friends with African heritage are just like, you've got to get out to Ghana. You're going to love it. Like, you need to experience this. And so that really encouraged me to want to find the family in Ghana so I could go there to meet them.
Did you ever think about going to Ghana before you found out all this information?
Yeah, I would have loved to. I'd wish Dad would have taken me to Ghana. A lot of people are going, why did Dad never take you to Ghana? Well, I mean, I guess he didn't have a relationship with his family, so it would have been potentially quite awkward or difficult for him to do that. But I would have loved to have gone with him as a kid. I think, though, when you're young, you're maybe not as focused on your heritage and where you've come from. And as you get older, you get more into that headspace. So the older I got, the more I wanted to investigate, I think.
Did it change the way you felt about your identity after you found out that your dad was hiding, his past and hiding his family?
Maybe initially, no, because it was all quite theoretical at the beginning. Just like a picture in a photo album doesn't necessarily tell you anything about who you are. But as I went through the process, as I started speaking to his old work colleagues and school friends and finding out more about who he was and where he'd come from and what he'd been through, and kind of reflecting on what his past and struggles meant about who I was and where I'd come from, and then ultimately going out to Ghana, meeting the family, getting to experience the music, the culture, the food, and all that kind of stuff. That's definitely had an impact on how I see myself now. I've always strongly identified as mixed race. Like that's always been my thing. Like I identify as British, but like Ghanaian British, and that's always been my vibe. But the more I get to know the country, the stronger I feel connected to that side of myself.
And like growing up, I know that your dad didn't really talk much about his past, but did he expose you to anything Ghanaian? Like I know that in the UK, there's like African restaurants and African groceries and all. Did he do any of that kind of stuff with you?
No. The one thing that he did, and I got called up on the episode for saying it wrong. I remember him calling it peanut stew, but I think it's actually groundnut soup. There was like the one Ghanaian dish that he cooked was groundnut soup, and it was so good. It was so good. And I was like, if this is a taste of what Ghana's like, I need to get there sooner rather than later. But apart from that was really it. And it's funny because I found one of my dad's old school friends. They were best friends when they were at college together back in the 60s. And when I tracked him down, this guy called Ian, he's in his 80s now. But when they were at college, they were in their sort of 30s. And one of the questions Ian really wanted to know was like, did your dad continue to wear his traditional Ashanti cloth? And did he talk about Ghanaian politics and Ghanaian history? Because when he first came to the UK and was studying with me, that's all he would talk about. And he would always he would save his Ghanaian clothes for special occasions and stuff like that. And I was like, I didn't even know that he owned those clothes. Like I never heard him talk about Ghanaian politics once in my life. So he had a bit of a transformation from who he was when he arrived in the UK to who he became by the time he was my dad and as he got older. But yeah, apart from the groundnut soup, I don't remember oh, you know what? I tell a lie. The one other thing was he used to tell me the stories of Anansi. Like when I was a kid, I remember him telling me the Anansi stories and me being obsessed with them because it was so far removed from anything I'd learned about in like UK school, because it just doesn't come up. Like you learn about Jack and Jill or whatever, Humpty Dumpty, but you don't hear about other cultures really. And so to know that I was learning stories about this character, this mischievous spider that came from sort of Ghanaian folklore or West African folklore, it was super interesting to me, and it always stuck with me, those stories. So yeah, Anansi, groundnut stew, soup, that was it.
Okay. For those watching who may not know about Anansi stories, the Anansi story is a folklore type of story that is told in childhood. And interestingly, the Anansi, the spider stories, are a Ghanaian folklore, but people in Jamaica also have the Anansi stories, which shows the connection between Ghana and Jamaica directly through that folklore.
Yeah. I think it's super interesting, and they're definitely worth checking out if you haven't had the chance to read any of them. There's some really nice animations online as well. I found some on YouTube that tell the story. But yeah,
definitely.
Gotta love Anansi.
I want to show, for those of you watching, I want to show a clip of the episode that he was referencing when he's talking about finding your dad's friends, right?
Yeah.
Finding your dad's friends and them telling stories. This gentleman here, he's one of his old friends, right?
Yeah, they were at the college at the same time. I'm not sure how well they knew each other, but they were there at around the same kind of time. So he gave a really good kind of backstory as to what it must have been like for him growing up in studying in college in Wales.
It was the one who was his close friend. Let me forward to that.
Turn up and surprise my mom, and then go to see Ian and spend some time with him and find out what Dad's life was like when they were together at college, and if Dad ever spoke about his family with Ian.
So,
right, the journey begins.
How you doing?
So well. Really looking forward to today. saying some words, just so that you've got them, checking the levels,
You've got great
everyone's a
words.
winner.
You've got a good word, Joe.
Thank you.
We're in Leamington. We're here to see Ian Mycroft, who is an old friend of my dad's. They went to college together
Okay.
back in the 60s.
Wow.
He's written memoirs, and there are some chapters in his memoirs that are about the college and also about his time with my dad specifically. So yeah, just really excited to see what he's got to say and meet him.
So with my friend Nana on camera duty, we headed over to Ian's house to see if he could shed any light on some of the mystery surrounding Dad's life. With so many gaps in the story, I felt like Ian could be the key to getting some answers.
So yeah, I'm just really happy to finally meet.
Well, the unforgettable Peter Otang, right, is always there in my memory, and obviously from the material that I've still got for you, so I'm happy to share with you.
Amazing.
I hope you're going to find things out about him that you don't know.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
But I hope mainly that you're going to find out what I believe to be true, that he's one of the most brilliant, wonderful individuals.
Now, how did it make you feel? I just, like, when you saw this old picture of your dad with his
It was
friend.
crazy. I'd never seen him look that young for a start. I'd never seen pictures of him from when he was a young man. A lot of people have said that we look pretty similar, and I can see it actually. Maybe not in this photo so much, but some of the other ones, I'm like, oh yeah, I do. I definitely see some similarities there. So this picture, the old man that I just met is the guy in the glasses to the right. That's Ian, and the people behind him are his parents. And there he is. He's wearing his, his. I guess it's a shanty cloth. I don't know.
It
Some
looks like
kind.
the kente cloth.
Kente cloth. Yeah. So
Yeah, it's the traditional kente.
yeah, and that was something that Ian said that he was really passionate about, and I'd never seen him wear it. And so yeah, it was, especially before I met Ian, like I had no idea who these people were. So I'm like, who is this like white family that Dad has been like adopted by? I don't know who these people are. Like it was just it's funny because my mom is the complete opposite way. She's an open book. Like I know about her old boyfriends, and I know where she went to university, and she couldn't keep a secret from me if she tried. Like she's just very, very open. And there's something to be said for both sides of things, that sometimes it's good to have some boundaries, but also it's good to be a little bit open. So I'd learned from my mom that you know about where your parent comes from, but from my dad, completely the opposite. So with every picture, I was like, what is this? What's going on here? So it's really great to actually get to meet Ian, because my dad now, he would have been in his mid 80s, late 80s. A lot of the people in the pictures have already passed away. So I missed the opportunity to meet them or find out what was going on in that picture, what was happening in this frame or whatever. But I got the chance with Ian. I've actually been back to see him a couple of times since, because he lives literally a minute's walk from where my mom lives, completely randomly.
Wow.
So when I go to see my mom, sometimes I pop in now and see him and just have a little chat and a catch up, which is great. But yeah, it was great to meet him and get some meat on the bones of the story of who those people were and how he ended up being with them. That was actually my dad's first Christmas in the UK, and he didn't have anyone to spend it with, so he spent it with Ian and his family, which is when that picture was taken, which was the first time that he ever saw snow. Ian was telling me about that as well. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. For those of you who are joining this live stream right now, you may have joined part way. I am talking to Jacquest. He is Ghanaian British. He was born and raised in the UK. His father was Ghanaian, his mom British, and he discovered secrets about his father's past after his father had already died. Now, imagine what it feels like to have a parent pass away and not know something about their past and find out all this information. And now you're on a journey of discovery, of self-discovery as a result. That's exactly what Jacquest went through, and he documented it on his YouTube channel, Hidden Roots. If you haven't seen the series yet, head over to his YouTube channel, Hidden Roots, and you can watch season 1, season 2.
And binge. Check it all
Yes.
out.
Binge it.
Binge it all. But I bet
You
there are
can-
loads of people. I bet there are people in the chat who have had similar experiences. You know, like it's so common. I think it might not be exactly the same story, but there's often stories of, oh, you know, mom did this or dad did that, or this person disappeared, or this person kept this secret, or you know, secret siblings and all this kind of thing. Like I've been amazed by how many people have had their own stories, and it's been a real privilege putting my series out, because I guess the sort of vulnerability of me going, look, this is my story, this is what happened to me, has made people feel more comfortable about opening up about their own stories. And everyone's got one. Everyone's family's got some skeletons in the cupboard, that's for sure. And it's the quiet ones you want to worry about the most. The ones that seem like they've got it all under control. Woo.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. Because you were mentioning even with your dad that he seemed like he was, you know, this, you know, quiet man who has his life, you know, going to work, coming home, has his family, and you wouldn't have known.
With the greatest respect, boring. I mean that, like, he was just, that's how I saw him, as like, you know, yeah, exactly that. He got up, he went to work, he came home, he had his dinner, he watched EastEnders, he went to bed, he did it all again. And that was his passion. And he didn't have he barely had any friends. He never had a partner, as far as I'm aware, after my mom. He was just very happy in his own company, doing his own thing. So I never imagined that he would have had this whole other life going on in the background. And now, like, you know, there's a lot of distance between finding it out and where I am now. I'm kind of like, oh, well, yeah, it's kind of good on you for at least, like, at least having some other stuff going on. I wish he'd been able to tell me about it, but I'm pleased to know that he had more passions and other things going on in his life at some point, even if he didn't always include me in them.
So this is on the screen here. This is the YouTube channel Hidden Roots. Check it out, binge watch. I subscribed already and watched everything already. So take your time, watch season 1, season 2, check it all out. And even though, you know, season 1, season 2, he's completed, there are still posts. He's still making posts and sharing, you know, other little things behind the scenes. And you can, you know, catch some of the short videos that he's posted also on his Instagram page and on his TikTok page. But first, come to YouTube and binge watch the entire series. And
yes, please do. Everyone is welcome.
Yes, everyone is welcome. Please watch, because, you know, as everything unfolds, you realize how much our identity is tied to things that we never really thought about before. What I found really interesting, and I mean, I'm trying not to give too many spoilers because I want people to go and binge watch it. But one of the things that I found really interesting is you learned a lot about your culture.
Yeah.
When you went to your dad's hometown and had the opportunity to meet family members and also participate in cultural festivities. How was that experience for you? Because that was a first time for you to experience something like that.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was really, really intense. Intense is always the word that I come back to when I think about the experience now. Like going off to, I've done a lot of traveling, independent traveling over the years, and that's all fine. But going to a place that has such like weight, emotional weight, because, you know, this is where your dad came from, but it's also a place that he didn't tell you about, and he's not here anymore, and you're going to meet family. And it was this question came up for me about what is family, because that we're blood related, but I've never met them. They're strangers, but they're family. So what's that relationship like? What does that mean? Like, I wasn't sure how those interactions were going to go. So I was constantly kind of I was going between a lot of different headspaces of new experience, connecting with Ghana, meeting family, but what does that family mean to me? How are they going to react to me? How am I going to react to them? My dad disappeared out of all their lives. So a lot of people were carrying a lot of pain. They were really sad that they never got the chance to say goodbye. And Some of them didn't know he'd passed away until I told them. In fact, most of them didn't know until I got in contact with one of my cousins in the UK when I finally found them, to let them know that he passed away. So I think a lot of them were dealing with some of the same trauma that I was, this unresolved tension that they never got to say those goodbyes or have those last conversations. So I also felt like I was a bit of an ambassador for Dad going over there. So there's a lot to deal with already. And that was just in Accra. And then I went up to Nsuta Chebi, which is where he comes from, which is just north of Kumasi. People got confused. Everyone, when I went over there, because I only knew it as Chebi, thought that Dad was from Chebi, where Nana Addo is from, the
Right.
former president or prime minister? President. Yeah, sorry. I want to make sure I get that right. Yeah, exactly. But he's not from there. He's from the other one, which is Nsuta Chebi, which is north of Kumasi. And I went up there and spent a few days there, and it was just incredible. The people were so welcoming. They remembered him very well. He would have been part of the royal family over there, so they wanted to welcome me into the family and have a ceremony to welcome me and to commemorate his passing. And they had this huge picture of him that I'd never seen before, like a really big picture they put in the middle of the courtyard, and there was singing and dancing and drumming, and it was a once in a lifetime experience for me, that whole time there, because it just felt so personal and emotional, and it was the perfect way to have that first interaction. Like, all those worries I had about how are they going to see me, how am I going to respond to them, all went out of the window when there was just this. It was just like a outpouring of feeling and emotion, and we all got involved with that, and we were family after that.
I can imagine. Because you mentioned you don't know who these people are, but they're family members, and I'm sure you must have been like, how are they going to receive me?
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen? Is there going to be any kind of barriers? Did you ever think these people might be upset at your father, and because of that, they might lash out at you as a result of the anger they have for your father? Did you ever think of that, or no, not really?
I didn't think it was that deep, because I as far as I was aware, I went into that not thinking that he'd done anything that bad. In fact, my feeling was someone in the family had done something to him, and that's why he went. I don't know. I'm not trying to guess anymore. Like, I'm beyond that at this point.
After a good night's
I don't
sleep
think there's a
in
way of
Nsuta,
like
we
necessarily
set off on the
finding
road
that
we went
out.
to Chebi, the town that my dad was born and grew up in. Imagined how my
I just
path
wanted to show
Ghana.
a clip while you were talking about your experience. I'm trying to put the volume a little bit lower.
Oh
so
yeah.
So you can keep talking.
Okay, yeah. So I wasn't too worried about family being annoyed with me, but I didn't know. Maybe I was a bit naive. Maybe I should have been a bit more concerned about that. You never know. Like, someone might have been like, "Your dad did this to me," but it never really crossed my mind in the beginning. And luckily, I didn't get any of that from anyone. I don't think that's really the Ghanaian way, especially from what I've understood of Ghanaian culture and hospitality and the people. I haven't experienced much in the way of aggression or confrontation. Certainly, I didn't get any of that.
Yeah, it's not something that Ghanaians typically do, but I was thinking sometimes if you didn't grow up in the culture, so you don't know what to expect, you might be like, is anybody going to be upset or that kind of thing. So I'm glad that, you didn't have those thoughts, and I'm glad that that was not the case for you as well. Yeah.
Luckily, it all worked out. It all worked out on that front. I have seen a few people on Instagram and TikTok. Have sent me some warnings, being like, "Be careful! You're opening Pandora's box. You don't know. People are going to come and ask for money. People are going to this, that, the other." But it hasn't happened. It's all been love. It's all been very, very nice. And I'm actually planning to go back out to Ghana pretty soon. Actually, if I can get the money together for the flight and sort everything out, to go see family again.
Good, good. I'm sure
Yeah.
they'll be excited about that. They'll be
Oh,
really
yeah.
excited about
Yeah.
that. Thank you, everybody who's watching right now. Udav Fashion says, "Hi, sis, Francine, the twins from Canada. Keep up the great work." Thank you so much for joining, Francine. I
Keeping it
appreciate
international.
Tim says, "Much love." Thank you so much for joining, Tim. See his story online. Happy for him. Yes. A lot of people
you.
have seen his story online, and it's always great to have these conversations because, you know, a lot of people, as we said at the top, a lot of people experience similar things like this. And as I had said, I know somebody who, when his father died, found out he had 10 siblings that he knew nothing about. And then all of a sudden, you're welcoming new family members, and it's not your fault.
10
you don't know
really
what
is
happened.
a lot. 10 is a
Yeah,
lot. That's a
it
real adjustment. Yeah.
Yes, it is a lot. It is a lot, you know. So, and then you hear stories about even spouses, people who, you know, they've married somebody, have been married someone else and didn't tell them, and you're finding out all this other information. So, communication is really important. Has this taught you anything in particular about what families should be doing in order to prevent something like this?
I don't know if it's taught it to me, just reconfirmed it. Like I've always like I take after my mom. Like I was saying, she's an open book, and I'm pretty much an open book as well. Like there's certain things, you know, it's okay to have things that you keep to yourself, and everyone has their secrets and their personal stuff. But I think generally, when it comes to family relationships, when it comes to parent-child relationships, especially if you have heritage from a different part of the world that child isn't exposed to, I think it's your duty to let that child into that culture, because otherwise you're sort of disinheriting them from a really important aspect of who they are. And that can be really difficult. Like, it's been nice for me because I feel like I've been really accepted, but I really wish that I'd had the chance to grow up with that as a kid, because as a kid, I kind of felt a bit of an outsider to African culture. Like, I didn't feel like I could be part of that conversation. I didn't feel like I knew what I was talking about. And I still don't really. Like, I'm still learning every day, but I'm doing it now in a very open way because I've gone on this journey and people can appreciate that I've done that. But, you know, I have a lot of friends who are mixed race, British people who maybe have a dad from Jamaica who disappeared, or a parent from the Philippines who doesn't want to talk about their Filipino past because they're embarrassed or ashamed. And it means that they're cut off from a huge part of who they are. And if you're mixed race, as soon as you're not white, like, you're not part of that club. So don't be worrying about that. So if you're also cut out from the other side of yourself, you feel like you kind of don't belong anywhere. It can feel very disconnecting and disorientating. So I think for parents, it's essential that they share a little bit about where they come from and who they are, even if it's difficult for them to have that conversation. I think it's something that your kids, even if they don't know it when they're children, are really going to appreciate as they get older. I know from my perspective, for sure, I will be telling my kids about Ghana, whether they want to know or not. They're knowing. Yeah.
If your dad was alive today, what's one question you might want to ask him?
That's a good question. I mean, I think my questions are quite sort of practical based at this point. So, like, I'd love to know, like, why it was that he cut himself off from his family. I'd love to know what caused that, and I'd also love to know why he felt he didn't want to share any of that with me. A few people quite a few people in the chats have been saying that they've become online doctors, and they've diagnosed my dad with as being on the spectrum, maybe having some kind of, like, is it sort of like low level autistic stuff, the way that he dealt with relationships and things like that. I would be interested to know if he felt like he found it difficult to form and keep relationships, but we never had those kind of honest conversations. So I'd love to know if he did struggle with that kind of thing. But at this point, I think I've gotten to a point where I don't need to ask more questions. I feel like I got enough from the process, and I've made new connections, and I've new people, new experiences, that I'm sort of past the question the questioning phase, and now I'm just like I'm going with the experience. I'm being taken along by the tide, and I am just trusting the process.
And so does that mean that you've made peace with everything?
Yeah, for sure. At the beginning, I was angry with my dad, and I was frustrated with him, the way he'd left things. He was sick for quite a long time, and I was with him for a lot of that last part of his life. He had a lot of time where he could have opened up about all of these things, and he chose not to. And so he left it for me to find out after he died. He probably could have figured out that I would have found out. So I would have appreciated him, having a difficult conversation and being honest about that. So I was annoyed. But as time has gone by, I've just sort of accepted and appreciated the fact that he was a struggling human being like we all are. Like I struggle with my own stuff all the time. I'm far from perfect. I get things wrong. I say the wrong thing. I don't say the right thing at certain times. Like none of us are perfect, and we're all just trying our best. And so this is something that happens, I think, for all of us as we get older, and we stop seeing our parents as just, these sort of almost like superhuman beings above us that just make the rules and don't have feelings or don't have a past, didn't have a life before we existed. And you start to realize, oh no, they're people like you and me. And so they're not perfect, and they make mistakes, and that's just part of life. So I've been able to meet him where I feel like he was, rather than holding him to a higher level of expectation. So there's far from there's hard feelings. I feel like I'm closer to him now than I ever was, sadly, when he was alive, because I've had the chance to really see where he came from and who he was, and appreciate that.
That's interesting. Like you said, you feel closer to him now than when he was alive.
Yeah, because he didn't tell me anything when he was alive. Like, we talked about work, we talked about my school education. Occasionally he wanted to know about friends, but he wasn't really too bothered about that kind of stuff. But I never really got a sense of who he was. And maybe I've idealized some of that because I've been on this journey discovering this, discovering that, and I've had to make up my own mind and my own opinions about who my dad was and what his motivations were. But on the basis of what I found out, I feel like I get him and understand him through his friends and through the family members that I've met, through the information I found out about where he went and what he did, a lot better than he ever explained it to me, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And what do you hope that viewers take away when they watch your story?
Ooh, well, I quite like it being open for people to make their own minds up, and some people have taken very different aspects of the story. Some people have found it very positive. Some people have found it controversial that I've been so open and whatever. So I don't mind people taking away whatever feels useful for them. But I guess what I wanted to do was like paint a picture of the man that was my dad, and really give us like as decent and honest a story about who he was. At no point was I trying to do a hit piece or be judgmental or for people to come away from it thinking, oh, this was a bad man, or this son is angry with his dad. No, I want people to understand, as I was saying, that, our parents are people, they have stories, and this is what my dad's story was. That's one thing on a personal level, but on a broader level, it's about exploring and celebrating your heritage, making the effort to make connections to family, to explore things that are uncomfortable and difficult, because actually a lot of the most rewarding stuff comes from those most difficult and awkward conversations and discoveries. And that's what happened to me. Like what you're seeing right now what I'm seeing right now on the screen, like some of the most amazing experiences I ever had were as a result of doing difficult things and having difficult conversations. So I think if people can take away anything, it's to be open with your family, explore your heritage, and celebrate it as much as you can.
Most definitely celebrate your heritage as much as you can. And,
Amen.
One of the things that, despite the disconnect that you had, I know that a lot of the audience who watches my channel are people from the diaspora, and some of them are people from the diaspora who don't have any connection to Ghana or to other African countries through direct lineage, but they're displaced because of the transatlantic slave trade. And so for them, a lot of times trying to connect and find their roots is also something that they're working on as well. Your story is a little bit different, but the whole idea of finding identity is something that a lot of people are seeking. What advice do you have for someone who is on a quest to find their identity?
Wow, that's a good question. I think the way that I did it, first of all, in terms of like practical advice, is using things like ancestry.com, Find My Relative, and there are lots of like really good online resources that you can use. Obviously, it's a bit different if your situation is that you're disconnected from your particular heritage. If that's the case, and even if it's not, I think like speaking to just as many people as possible, family members, friends of family members, anyone that might be able to pass on a bit of story to help you get to where you want to get to, that's a really helpful thing to do. But also just go into it with an open heart and not too much expectation. Like I didn't know what I was going to find out, and I had certain ideas in my head, and I wanted this big dramatic reveal here, and I wanted to find this and that, and to be like this big cinematic thing for me to experience. And actually, in reality, most of it wasn't like that. It was lots of little discoveries that built up to a much bigger understanding and appreciation of my dad and myself. But that discovery was in the journey, not in the destination. So I think it's important that when you go into that stuff, you don't go into it and you're going to be disappointed because you don't find out XYZ. You need to do it because you're going to enjoy and appreciate going through that process, speaking to people, finding out more, because you'll grow through that anyway. And if you can't find directly the people you're trying to find, you'll still be able to get a lot out of it by just trusting the process and enjoying it.
Okay. So for those of you who are watching, I want to thank you all for being here today through this conversation with Jacquest, talking about his documentary series, Hidden Roots, that he used to document his journey of discovery when he found out a family secret. His father, after he passed away, he found out so many different things, and he was on a quest to find who he was, who his family is, and learn more about his father in the process by traveling to Ghana and also meeting some of his father's friends in the UK. So if you want to follow his journey, you can follow him on Instagram at Hidden Roots Doc, where he shares snippets on the Instagram page for you to follow along. You can also follow him on his YouTube channel where the full series is, and you can watch series 1, series 2, or as we say in North America, season 1, season 2. Yeah, we say season 1, season 2 in North America. The UK, Europe, they say series 1, series 2. You can go to the channel and check it out. See all the episodes, binge watch them. Since they're all there, you can binge watch from episode 1 all the way through. I was watching it in real time, and it was like when you're watching it in real time and then it finishes, you're like, wait, it's over? Oh, so I have to wait? You're like, so I have to wait until next week? Oh my gosh. Oh,
the stress of it all. But no longer. If you watch it now, you can do it all, like a little Netflix binge.
Yes, do a binge. and watch his entire story, where he shares all of the things that he experienced after finding out about his father. So thank you, everybody who's watched today. We've been talking for getting close to an hour, and it's been a really engaging conversation. I've learned so much, and I want to appreciate you for sharing, how you felt through this whole process of, self-discovery and things that you've learned, and then learning that you have found peace. Because, I think a lot of people would still not have peace. A lot of people would still be in inner turmoil about the whole situation. So that's really commendable. I commend you.
Well, I'm thankful that I was able to get there. But it's taken a bit of time and a bit of work, but I've gotten there now.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
So everybody, as I said, go and follow him, Hidden Roots Doc on Instagram, and then Hidden Roots Doc also on TikTok, and then on YouTube, Hidden Roots Doc. Hidden Roots. And you can follow along. And as he releases new stuff, because he said he's going to come back to Ghana again, I'm sure you'll make more content when you come back, and we can follow you along on your journey of continued connection with your family, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciated it. It's been really good to talk to you.
I really appreciate it too. Oh, and also, let's not forget, he's also a music artist, Jacquest.
Yes.
So you can find his music where on Spotify,
YouTube, Apple Music, all of that.
Follow his
Just
music.
like my name is down there, Jacquest.
Yes. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching today. Thank you for Jacquest for the time. And once again, don't forget to watch Hidden Roots. It is a great series. I loved it. I probably will watch it again. This time watching it again because I like the way that you edit. I like the way you.
Oh, thank you.
Your storytelling.
I learned a lot. I got it. It was a big jump up from series 1 to series 2, but
your storytelling is impeccable.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. Yeah. And again, labor of love. It took many hours when it's a one-man band doing the whole thing. But I'm
I
really
understand.
happy how it turned out. Yeah. You know the struggle.
I do. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. Don't forget to share this video with others that you feel might be interested in this. Drop in the comments what you thought about this episode. Have you been through something like this before? Have you lost a family member or a friend and found out hidden secrets that you now are on a quest to find information about? Share it in the comments. I would love to have this conversation. Let's keep it going. It is very important in our community to be able to tell our stories from our perspective, to share and learn from each other. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.
Thank you. Such a pleasure.